Good day, everyone. I am May Falconate Erlandes, and today I am going to discuss my assigned topic, which is the narrative discourse. So, what is narrative discourse? Narrative discourse, it is how the story is told, which might disrupt the timeline, for example, flashbacks and repetition. It includes language, techniques, and styles of the storyteller. It also gives the narrative its unique voice and emotional impact to the um, to the to the readers. So narrative discourse might disrupt the timeline of the story by representing the story out of their chronological order. Instead, because sometimes story instead of telling the story from beginning, middle to end, um, the narrator may rearrange events to create suspense or reveal information slowly and emphasize the important 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 moment. So language also may affect the narrative of the story because your choice of words and expression may add different meaning or create a more important um, meaning that can gives that can touch the emotion of the um, of the of the readers. And also um, the story the narrative discourse gives a unique meaning because it focuses on how the story is told, not just what happens on the story. Because through the use of language, structures, perspective, and storytelling techniques, narrative discourse shapes the way readers understand, interpret, and emotionally connect with the narrative. Now, um, from the story that we presented earlier, um, if we're going to make a narrative discourse about it, so this is how it will go. So first, we will tell that the narrative discourse in the story begins with the exposition. So like you'll add some evidence that the story really end with exposition. So you may add the lines. For example, based on the story. So the story Barrel Camp, a nation betrayed, begins with the exposition. So it was explanation of it. It introduces the explanation of the background of the Priority Development Assistance Fund, which is the PDAF. So it is the line of the story. The first line of the story is: for many years, the Philippine government had system as known as the Priority Development Assistance Fund, or PDAF, commonly called the pork barrel. So this is how you make introduction of your narrative discourse. So narrative discourse, and then of course you will discuss that thus the narrator of in the story gradually reveal the scheme behind the corruption and introduce the characters, which is one of the characters is Miss Janet Napoles. So here it goes. So based on the story, here it goes. The controversy began when whistleblowers revealed the role of businesswoman Janet Lim Napoles, who was accused of orchestrating a large network of fake non-government organizations, or NGOs. So that is how you gradually narrate the what happens in the story. So you may also add up styles, which is the narrator in the story use an emphasis on public reaction. So there's a line there that says, many Filipinos felt betrayed, believing the funds meant for education, healthcare, and community development had but it had been but instead been stolen. So that is one of the techniques used by the narrator to trigger the emotion of the readers. uh, and for style, this is a style or technique as well. So you may in your narrative discourse, you may add that the narrator use direct quotations and strong statements. So for example, in the story, the narrator the narrator told us the line of one of the Protestant, which is Miss Mary Joy Mananzan. So she said that we reiterate our demand that all those who have benefited from the pork barrel scam should be made accountable. It has become a cause of great outrage that the administration protects its allies implicated in the pork barrel. So again, the narrator of this story used direct quotation and strong statement. There's also this example. The narrator also includes the shout of the protesters during their march. The Filipino said, "Ibalik isa uli sa kaban ng bayan ang nakaw ng kayamanan." So by by putting this by putting this into your narrative, so it gives your readers will know the pain, the like they can imagine that they have been in the same situation, because be, just by reading your narrative about the story. So I assess again, you've already in doing your narrative discourse, you've already discussed the introduction, the main events, the um the styles, and of course at the end you'll explain how the story ends. So in the story that we presented, the it ended by explaining the legal consequences of the scandal. So the Supreme Court's ruling not only abolished the pork barrel system, but also set a precedent, greater transparency and accountability in the public funds. So in the story, if you are going to write a narrative discourse about the story, a pork barrel scam, a nation's betrayed. So of course, this is how this you'll explain that this is how the story end. So, to sum up the my report, so the narrative discourse again it refers to how the story is told. It focuses on language, style, structure, and techniques used by the narrator to present the events. So unlike the plot of it simply tells us what happened. This course shows how the events are organized and explained in the audience in order to create a meaningful emotion and understanding. So that's the end of my report. The it will narrative discourse will be discussed further by the next reporter. Thank you and God bless us all.